Hello, and welcome back to the podcast, Building a Clear, Authentic Brand. I'm your host, Amy Dardis. And in today's episode, we're defining what it means to build a clear, authentic brand. And we're diving into the framework of how you actually do that. I refer to this framework a lot in future episodes. So I felt like this was just like a very logical place to start so that you could refer back to this and know what this framework is, because it's going to come up a lot. And this framework was something that I created out of observation, out of trial and error, out of implementing it myself in my own brand, but also helping clients and other businesses implement it within theirs. And so this is really the framework that helps a brand transform from the inside out. And there's 3 pillars to it. It is clarity, alignment, and accountability. And this was born out of this quest, this search for what makes a brand strong and healthy. Like what are all of the pieces and elements that a brand must have in order to be successful and for everything to work the way that it's supposed to. So when I first started my business, I had no idea how to run a business. I had no idea what to do or where to start. I started a business without any clue, and I feel like that's a lot of us, right? It's like we go into something that maybe we are good at or have experience with, but we don't necessarily know how to run a business, how to do the marketing, how to do the strategy, how to do the planning or the goal setting, how to do the messaging, how to hire people or talk to them, or how to implement processes. Like it very much is a journey of research, trial and error, and just figuring out what matters, what doesn't, what works, what sticks. And so I dove into a lot of research. One, research through just talking to other businesses, through working with them, but also just in communities, and just learning as much as I could, asking as many questions as I could ask to figure out like what actually made a difference, like what actually needs to happen. And then I have listened to a lot of business experts. I've attended a lot of conferences. I have read a lot of business books. And there are really 5 books that in the course of the last 15 years have really stood out as far as things that I have taken and learned and implemented and seen be successful. But there was never like one book that just had everything. They hone in on different aspects of it. And so my goal was to find one framework that had all of the necessary aspects, that considered every process within a business. Like, what do you need? And let's cut out everything that you don't, because if anything, I like things to be clear and simple. Like, let's not have extra if we don't need extra. I'm a minimalist at heart. There's nothing on my walls in my house because I'm like, if it doesn't contribute something, if I don't see the point in it, we don't have space for it. So the 5 business books that really impacted and shaped my approach to business is Start With Why by Simon Sinek, Traction by Gino Wickman, The Advantage by Patrick Lencioni, Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller, and Good to Great by Jim Collins. And I will put these in the show notes. But these books talked about organizational health. They talked about strategic planning, culture, core values, processes, healthy organizations, alignment, messaging, marketing, people, and hiring. Like, all of these books in some way touched on these things. But they all, and there's a lot of overlap. There's a lot of these timeless principles. And so I'm like, what are the timeless principles And not only what are the principles, but how do we actually implement it? How do we make it real for a small business? Because I'm a small business, that I helped small businesses. So that's what I really cared about. I'm like, this isn't corporate. This isn't for businesses that have 500 employees or 1,000 employees. Like, this is for the owner operator, the mom and pop entrepreneur, where it's like you started doing something because it probably just kind of fell into your lap, or you were an apprentice, or you were really good at something and you're like, I can make this better. I can make an impact with this. But you didn't go to business school. Like, you probably don't have an HR person. Like, you're just trying to do the best that you can. And so I'm like, what is a practical framework that really makes the difference and covers all of the areas? So it is this 3-part framework: clarity, alignment, accountability. And in future episodes, I'm going to go into these more in depth, but today's episode is really just the overview of the framework. So the first pillar of the framework is clarity. So clarity is just being clear on the vision. And I don't just mean like a vision statement. I mean a calling. I mean the purpose that God has for you in this business, how He shaped you, the personality that He has given you, the experiences that He has given you, the things that you value, and how it shapes how you're going to run your business, the culture that you are going to have, the way that people are going to operate. These are going to give you the pillars, the guidelines for how you make decisions. How do you determine if a decision is a good decision or a bad decision? If it aligns with your purpose and your mission and your vision, and if it doesn't. This is the most important part, because if we don't have this, everything else doesn't work, because this is what guides how we make decisions, how we align, how we hold people accountable. So we have to clarify this down to very specific, clear, tangible sentences, like writing it out to say, this is what we value. And you're going to value what you value. It's going to be based off of like you as an individual and what drives you. It's going to be based off of the experiences that you have had, that God has led you through, how He's shaped you. It's going to be based off of your own unique personality, how you communicate, how you operate. That affects your business. And you're going to like be authentic to that. You're going to be true to that. You're not going to be someone that you're not. And we're going to write that out within like, okay, I'm this person. I run this type of business. I care about these things. These are the people I want to help. This is why I want to help them. This is how I'm going to help them. And this is the impact that my business is going to make in the lives of these people. And the process of clarifying this is not creating it. Like, you don't have to come up with it. The answers are actually already there. I heard someone say once that like your brand is the process of discovery, not of creation. I think Simon Sinek says this in his book, Start With Why. And that's true. Like, your brand, being authentic to your brand is really being authentic to yourself and the how God created you and the purpose that He's calling you to, and how He intends for you to use your skill sets and to spend your time, and the people He means for you to build relationship with and to impact. Like, God is over it all. So when I had to go through and clarify my brand, it was a process of just writing out my story. And that's hard to do because I have to be unbiased. But when I do this for clients, that's what I do is I just sit down with them and I have a conversation and I ask them questions. And it's just like, how did you get started? And tell me about yourself and tell me about your business journey and tell me about what makes you feel good at the end of the day. And really, I'm just looking for these patterns and these themes that keep coming up to the surface and making it more and more tangible, more and more clear. Because then once we're clear, that's going to give us that foundation. That's going to keep us rooted and grounded, because there is no denying the thousands of opportunities and the thousands of decisions that will come at you when you run a business. For your time, for your attention, for your money, for your resources. Should you do this? Should you do that? It's exhausting, honestly. It is the most mentally exhausting, emotionally exhausting, spiritually exhausting thing I've ever done outside of being a parent, I think. But to know that, okay, I'm saying yes to this and I have peace about it. I have conviction about it. I can explain why I'm saying yes to it versus I'm saying no to this because even though maybe on the surface it seems like it's all good and it checks all the boxes, it doesn't align with this vision. It doesn't align with this calling. So clarity is going to remove any confusion you have, and it's going to be what drives your decisions. And so that brings us into this second pillar, which is alignment. And that's really the decisions you make on how you're going to operate. So we're going to talk about people, processes, and messaging, which is really your people is who do you hire and who do you help, but mainly who do you hire and how do you hire them and how do you make sure they're the right person and how do you know if they align and how do you make sure that they're carrying out the vision that you have? How do you communicate that with them? How do you train them on it? How do you develop them in that? What are the processes that you have internally that are going to support this? So what's your hiring process? What's your sales process? What's your fulfillment and operations process? What's your marketing process? These are the things that we really make up most of our day-to-day within a business is really more process-oriented decisions. But if we don't have that clarity and if we don't have the right people in place, the processes end up being where you have a lot of the gaps and you'll have a lot of the fires there. But you actually fix them with the clarity piece and with the people piece first. And then the messaging. So messaging is not just marketing. It is not just what goes on your website. It's not just what goes in your marketing campaigns. Your messaging is how you talk, how you train, how your employees talk. It's the conversation that surrounds your culture. It's also what customers say about you. Messaging is your reputation because you can say all you want about your brand and how you want to do business. But if your employees aren't saying the same thing and then following through on that experience, then your customers are going to be saying something different and it's going to be not in alignment. So messaging is the conversation that surrounds your brand by anybody that it interacts with, whether it's you as the owner, your employees, your customers, and even your family. What is your family saying about your business and the impact that it's having? Is it positive or is it negative? Is it give life or is it draining? And then that brings us into this third pillar, which is accountability. And accountability is just how you measure, maintain, and address the clarity and alignment pieces to make sure you're staying consistent and you're staying authentic. And most businesses think that accountability is the hardest part, But really, accountability is way easier when it's built on top of this clarity and alignment foundation. If you don't have clarity, you will struggle to have alignment. And if you don't have alignment, accountability will be almost impossible. It'll be an uphill battle, swimming against the current all the time. But if you have clarity and you're aligning your people, your processes, and your messaging around it, then your accountability is like just keeping your canoe straight as you're rowing downstream. Like you're making sure you're not running into the banks on the side, but it's not a fight and it shouldn't be a fight. So there are specific processes that you'll want to implement into the accountability part in order to make sure that you have a way to measure alignment, you have a way to maintain alignment, and you have a way to address alignment when there are issues that are coming up. And in the end, that makes up every aspect of a business. That affects people, operations, strategic planning, marketing, sales, admin. It's going to affect all of those things. And it just comes down to this simple framework. Not easy, but it is simple and it is possible and it is like practical to implement. And this ends up being something that when we have all of these things in place, then you are working towards your calling and your purpose as a business owner with your unique gifting and skills. You're attracting and developing and aligning people who have the necessary skill sets and similar values to your organization. So that way they get to look forward to coming to work every day. It is an environment and a culture that develops people and breathes life into them. There's purpose, there's growth, there's challenge, there's relationship, there's trust that's building. It's not a culture of apathy or disengagement or toxicity or drama. And a lot of that breeds from just having the wrong people within your business. And you make those decisions because you didn't have the clarity that you needed to begin with. So that is the framework, this clarity, alignment, accountability, and how it comes to life within your business. And future episodes will dive into this more fully. So over the next 3 episodes, we will dive into clarity, we will dive into alignment, and we will dive into accountability. And then in future episodes after that, I'll just refer back to these terms a lot because this really does end up making all of the difference. And it's reinforced by business experts who've gone before me of, years and years. I mean, Jim Collins writing his book, Good to Great, Start with Why, Simon Sinek, Gino's book, Traction, Patrick's book, The Advantage. I mean, this isn't just me saying that these things are real. This is like supported by, I think, titans of our time is talking about like healthy organizations. But my approach to this is not only do I want to talk about it, I want businesses to implement it. I want them to know how this comes to life within their business so that they're running a business that really is life-giving to them as a business owner, to their employees, and the people that they get to impact, so that we get to experience this feeling of purpose-driven work, meaningful work, that we're developing our God-given gifts and talents, and we're living our life and we're running our business in a way that honors God, in a way that gives him glory, and in a way that he intended, in the way that he actually created us to do. And that is the beauty of business and work and talents and time. So that is all I have for us in this episode. You can learn more about this specific framework if you visit clearauthenticbrands.com, and I will see you in the next episode.